Hi, movie friends. Welcome to the channel where we love to talk about movies. Here today, we are going to do a review and I'm going to share my thoughts on Elevation, which I just got back from seeing in the theater. And yeah, just wanted to discuss it all with you. So, as usual, I'll start with just my brief kind of recommendation for the film or not, and then we'll get into open spoilers or open discussion after that. But I'll give you a warning before we do that. So overall, my letter grade for this film is a B, which means I'd recommend it, but I wouldn't like go out of my way to recommend it. So like if you're looking for something to watch, I think it's a good film, and I'd recommend it. If you're looking for something, I think it's definitely a good. I don't know if it's marked as like a suspense or thriller. It's not quite. I would say horror. It's definitely. I would say it's probably suspense. If I had to guess, I could probably double check, but it felt like a suspense film. And yeah, I thought it did a good job. It wasn't like terribly groundbreaking. I thought it's a new concept for a film of, sort of post-apocalyptic end of the world event. We've got predators hunting humans and that sort of a thing. So I thought the idea of, having to stay above a certain elevation was interesting. I thought that made for some like interesting plot devices for obstacles that they have to overcome given that. But I thought the characters overall were interesting enough. Again, I didn't think it didn't have me like fully emotionally invested as some other films that come to mind. Like that's why I didn't bump up to like an A tier for me. I thought that like the characters were good and they didn't yeah, they weren't weak by any means. I did like the kind of the main trio that we got that, go on their adventure and that sort of a thing. So yeah, if you're looking for a good suspense film, this one was good. And yeah, we'll jump into open discussion now. So if that's all you're looking for, is this good? Is it not? I think it's good. I'd say go check it out. And with that, let's dive into the spoilers. So, spoiler warning: if you haven't seen the film, if you want to come back once you have. Otherwise, if you don't care about spoilers or you've already seen it, feel free to stick around. So, I think I liked the monster design. I thought it was, I mean, it's pretty standard, but like it was good that they kind of showed it to us in doses. And like the very first scene, we get a glimpse of it, so you immediately feel the threat, and I thought that was good. I like the relationship between the main character and his son. I felt like the son felt like a real character again. I think it's a for me it can be hit or miss when you're bringing in child actors, whether or not like how good they are at playing the part, or if they feel like they're acting, or if they're actually real kids. But I thought this one felt like a real character, and it didn't take me out of the film like sometimes you can get with younger actors. And then I liked how we got the other characters. I forget their names. Maybe I don't. It's Nina and then I think Katie. And I like how we got more and more, especially of Nina. I think she ended up being a like richer character or deeper character than I initially thought. And I think like on paper I should have connected more with her character, but for whatever reason I didn't. Like I don't know. I think had I, that might have had made me appreciate the film a bit more. But as it was, I thought she was an interesting character. It just didn't have me like fully invested in her or kind of any of the characters. So I don't know if it's maybe just because it was like a little bit shorter of a film. I think it was just an hour and a half, but that could have something to do with it. But yeah, I mean it didn't need to be longer. I thought it felt like a good length, and it didn't have any like fat that felt like it needed to be trimmed from the story. But I like that we got a solid kill of one of the main three, like having the stakes be like real that way. I definitely respect a film when they do that. And then yeah, I think the I went a little bit back and forth of being like critical of some of the explanations that they gave and just kind of being along for the ride. I'd have to look up. There's like several things I didn't immediately buy into. That's not to say that they're true or not, but I think that yeah, I mean, I think the one which is probably the most arbitrary thing, which is like the 8,000 feet. Why is that? that one, especially by the end, being a software engineer, like I can actually get that. That's probably just, a constant value in programming for these things. And somebody decided to set it at 8,000. It probably isn't actually 8,000. It's probably some other unit. Like these things are aliens, so they're probably not measuring things in feet. And so like whatever unit they're in, that's probably like the maximum value for however many bits they're using to measure elevation, and that's also probably relative to some other point that humans are probably not measuring. So like all of that's actually pretty believable. Like if you were doing, I mean, 8,000 like the fact that it was 8,000 like perfectly, I could see like 8,012 or some other like 8,172.5, like some other number where it wasn't exactly like a multiple of 1,000, I thought would be more believable in a way, at least how my brain was processing it. Anyway, this is probably getting into a whole lot of stuff. I don't know how interested y'all are in numbers and that sort of a thing, but yeah, it's probably a different base of accounting system or whatever they're using, and however, like whatever base unit of measurement, whether that's feet, inches, or some other alien measurement, a multiple of that comes out to be a certain number of bits, like let's say it's a 16-bit or a 64-bit number that happens to equal 8,000 human feet. I get that. That actually makes sense. Like their programming doesn't work above that because in their minds, if that's like an overflow or even if it's just an arbitrary value that's set in the code, they're like above that just doesn't exist for them. So I like that, and I didn't guess that, even though maybe I could have given my background. But I liked the effect once they finally died, that they just kind of exploded. That was kind of cool. It reminded me a little bit of the end of like Iron Man 3 when all the suits are like blowing up and that sort of a thing. But I would have to do a little bit. I wasn't immediately buying. I was like, is magnesium really going to do the trick? Which it didn't, but I don't know enough about the chemicals to fully doubt those things. I think what I was also having a little difficulty believing was just like how easy those things could track humans, and like I don't know. But I think come the end, and the explanation they give, I buy into it. Like these things were sent by something. They were designed by something to kill humans. So it makes sense that like they're clearly sophisticated enough to be able to like it's not a stretch to believe that they're able to track like human CO2 specifically, and like going after only humans. That's why the horses are untouched and that sort of a thing. Like they're advanced enough technology to know the difference, and yeah, and to have sophisticated enough sensors to track humans from a far enough distance. I think that would make sense. um yeah, I think, I don't know, I wonder if you could get away with decoying, like I know they use CO2 in like one of the situations to get out of, like just to get to a higher floor in the hospital. But yeah, I think clearly whoever whoever designed these things though definitely made them drop proof, unlike so many of our cell phone makers. But that was yeah, I was like, oh, is that could be a way to kill him, just drop him from a really high height, and that might do it. It didn't in this case. But yeah, I think those are the things I found interesting with the film. Again, I'm coming from a software engineering background, so anytime you can work something that's my language into the film, that's what I'm going to think on. It didn't have me thinking terribly much on, I would say, more like about the characters or things like that. Sometimes movies will have me kind of contemplating deeper things of life, and this was not one of them. It was, I think, a pretty straightforward suspense film, but nothing wrong with that. So anyway, I think that's all I have to share on the film, but I definitely appreciate you watching, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the film in the comments below. um but yeah, if you enjoy these reviews, be sure, and you think other people will, I try to keep these just real discussions, sharing my raw thoughts on the films. I usually talk without planning it out first. So um yeah, I just do this as a way to share. So if you're still here and you appreciate it and you think other people would like, candid conversations about movies, feel free to share it or not. Yeah, I'm just here to share my thoughts. So with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.